We're back with another ServiceNow conversation. This week, I have 4 things I wanted to share with you, and they span kind of a broad spectrum of thoughts and considerations. Some in the data visualization world, some in the ServiceNow world. The first thing I wanted to share was this blog post that I saw. It was around reducing mean time to resolution or repair blog. It was actually on the ServiceNow website from last August, and I just hadn't seen it. I thought it was pretty insightful and had some interesting just like charts and visuals for some data that they collected. And one of the things that they were talking about is, how and what causes, mean time to increase. And clearly, one of the things that they said is that people preferred to predict and prevent incidents. But when they do have an incident, what are some of the things that cause them to spend more time to resolve those incidents? And when you look at, I guess the chart says, the phase of time, most time-consuming contributor to the MTTR. And the top 3 were all pretty similar, like 28, 30, 25%. But at the very top, the 30% was the team engagement, incident communication, and collaboration response. And it was just interesting. And they called out in the article that, the human side, the team engagement, the, getting resources together was the most time consuming part of the response time for that incident. And then a little bit further down, they talk about the biggest challenges for, having an effective incident response. And that one was even more drastically kind of one-sided to the top thing, with 51% responding that people, just getting the right people engaged was what caused the most challenge for resolving that incident. And I think we can understand that, where we can appreciate that when you're dealing with an incident, just trying to make sure you hit the people involved that are going to be able to have the expertise, the knowledge, or the wherewithal to be able to solve that incident can be the most time consuming. Thinking about, obviously, that problem, in today's world, the first thought is like, how much of this can we automate away? We're in the digital transformation world. The other part of this is, how much is AI going to take over as far as like tasks that today a human does that maybe AI will do in 4 or 5 years. We will discover that over the next 4 or 5 years. And it'll be interesting to see how much AI takes over. I think from my perspective, the thought that I was having was, if people are tracking this, if they're monitoring this, how are these reports being surfaced? Like, how often are these different factors that are impacting the resolve time being reviewed? And then how is that data getting collected, collaborated, and then also reported on? Obviously, the reporting part is the piece that we think about all the time here at VividCharts. I know there are tools inside of ServiceNow to help you, collect the different data around what's causing that. So like process mining and some of those tools. And so, but when you need to get that into a report to your stakeholders and have a narrative to share along with that data, how is that being done? Anyway, I'll share the blog post. I thought it was really good. It's pretty surface level at the top, but like all these things, it gave me a lot to provoke some other thoughts I had, especially around the AI, because, everything is being talked about around AI agents, as we talked about last week, but even like generative AI and, just chatbots and things like that. The second thing I wanted to share is actually around data visualization. It's not inside of the ServiceNow world, but there's a new report that came out from the Data Visualization Society called The State of the Industry. And as you can expect, it's a pretty visual, good-looking report. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting and, is relevant to us at VividCharts, it's relevant to anyone really trying to do good reporting. But they had one of the charts in there was talking about how do people spend their time? Where is their time most spent during the week? And as you can guess, most of the people that are doing the data visualization and reporting in that chart, their tasks are spread out, pretty wide, so no task is really taking a lot of time. They're just doing a lot of tasks throughout the week. But when you looked at the tasks that cost 10 or more hours a week, so someone's charged with this task and then they're spending more than 10 hours a week on it, it was creating the visualizations was the one that was called out. And I think that's interesting. Obviously us at VividCharts, when you're looking at doing this work inside of ServiceNow, we try to decrease that time of building the visuals from, hours to minutes to seconds. And we continue to try to make that more and more efficient. The other thing that I thought was interesting here, and I think is very relevant when you're doing reporting inside of ServiceNow, it's of all the tasks that happen to take, people that reported that it took them over 30 hours a week, there were very few that reported that there were tasks that took them that long. But when it was, the most common one was data cleaning and preparation. And this is something we see all the time. So we talk about data delivery and, data design delivery. And what does happen often is people may have the visual that they want to deliver, but then they have to go figure out how to clean and organize the data in a way, potentially even collect data they're not collecting, but organize the data in a way so that it can be visualized. And anyone who's done data analysis and, data science in the past knows that the not sexy part of this job is doing the data cleaning and data prep. And typically it is the most time intensive piece of the work we do. Anyway, I just thought it was really interesting when I was looking at that report. Again, I'll link the report below. Even if you're not in the world of data visualization, it's a great report. And so it might be interesting to you to see how this report's generated, and then, some other things going on in the data visualization world. Okay. Number 3, I think it was actually last week. I didn't talk about it last week, but the CueIn acquisition by ServiceNow happened. And when you go to their website, they tag themselves as the co-pilot for customer experience teams. And in this discussion, I don't know much or anything really about CueIn. I just saw the press release and then some of the discussions around it. In the discussion here, one thing I did find was a resource by Jay Spenson, one of the more well-known MVPs in the dev community. He has a post on his website that keeps track of all the ServiceNow acquisitions, which I thought was really handy. Didn't have this acquisition on there yet, but it was handy just to kind of scroll through that list as I was trying to think through of when different things were purchased, and it actually, that's very relevant to the work we do. The very first acquisition they showed was the Mirror 42, which, ultimately became Performance Analytics. The ServiceNow fourth quarter earnings call is coming up, and I think, it's going to be next week, actually, January 29th at 5 p.m. Eastern is the next quarterly call. So it'll be interesting to see if they talk about in that call, the acquisition of CueIn, and if there's any more details that they share on that. The last thing I have here is also it's an event next week, and it is also on Wednesday, January 29th, and it is at 4 to 6 p.m. in Cleveland, Ohio. So Mitch and Rob, our founders here at VividCharts, have been doing what they've been calling Platform Analytics on Tap. And they're just local gatherings allowing people to come in, and they talk about platform analytics and some of the technical things that people need to understand and know about platform analytics. And then also some of the management and migration things that go on as you move over to the platform analytics experience when you're moving your reports and things like that over. So again, you can see Rob and Mitch, that's in Cleveland if you're in the area. And I'll share a link below this post so that you can have access to that. So again, it's a busy week. It's at the beginning of the year. The sales kickoff is happening in Vegas this year. I didn't even mention that. So just a lot going on. Again, just trying to keep a pulse of ServiceNow, and I'll meet with you next week.